thank you for joining us again here on TNR Talks. We really encourage you to kick back, relax and share your thoughts.
So basically, we found out that Angela is a young carer for someone with paranoid schizophrenia. And we did some research into paranoid schizophrenia, trying to remember from our A-level days psychology. You know, there's different types. So, for example, we have disorganized schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, and some other ones. But we kind of like looked across some of the stereotypes of what schizophrenia was, and I think you had a...
Yeah, because I always remember sort of in primary school, you always used to, you know, like when you hear people sort of saying things all the time, I always remember people saying, oh, don't look at someone with schizophrenia for too long because they think you're trying to harm them, so they're going to kill you, so it's like... So I always remember that one.
Stereotypes. But we realised there's two different, I think you said two different elements of schizophrenia. So you can have the, what was it called?
The positive
symptoms,
and
negative symptoms.
And the negative symptoms. So I know you have positive symptoms, you have sort of hallucinations and delusions, and negative symptoms. It's not necessarily negative as in bad, but it's things that you lack. So it's sort of things like, I think, empathy and sort of motivation and stuff like that. So yeah.
So can you describe in your own words what paranoid schizophrenia is?
Well, I'm just going off my experience of what I've seen it to be. So for me, with my family member, it was hallucinations, having people talk to her about us trying to kill her. It would be her going on long walks like in the middle of the night and coming back really like early in the morning. It would be her trying to attack us because she thought it was trying to harm her. And then other stuff like she wouldn't eat food from us because she thought we put something in the food, or like I know in particular with me, she wouldn't cook for me, or there was some kind of hatred towards me because of it. So I guess it's a mixture of both. So yeah, I don't think I fully understand what it is, but from my experience, I'm just trying to explain what I kind of saw it as. So and there's a lack of motivation in terms of like she wouldn't do anything at all. She kind of like after a while, like once she's medicated, she just doesn't do anything. She has no motivation to go out, to make friends, to go like shopping, or just to go out in general. So
So when was the kind of taking it all the way back? When was the first, or how old are you when the first episode kind of happened, or when you understood what it was?
It goes back a while. Let me be honest. This is before she was diagnosed. But we only, so during that time it was more, she was like really violent, and she would argue a lot with us, and she kind of withdrew. So instead of like giving us money for school, she would keep the money and say she's using it for something else. We had like neighbours calling the police on us. We had social service come to our home to try and take my siblings.
How old were you around this time?
19, 20. Yeah, so it's still quite, I'm 24 now. So it's still quite fresh. It's been quite a mixture, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
There's one I do remember, and I think like little things would trigger it. So I might do something that she doesn't like, or she may accuse me of something that's completely wrong. And then in this occasion, she accused me, it's so random, but she accused me of having like a boyfriend or something. Not a boyfriend, but I went out with my friend, she followed me with my friend and basically attacked me in front of my friend, who's a girl. And then some man intervened when I came back home, she assumed that that was the man that I was seeing. I was like, this is a random man, like, I have no association with this man whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then she would throw like insults at me, calling me stupid, saying I'm wicked, wishing that I was never born and stuff. And then she basically attacked me, and I remember fighting back, because not fighting as in I wanted to hit her, but just so she could leave me alone. Then she started shouting, and then I had to call the police and told her. They didn't really do anything, to be fair. They were just like, yeah, she should go for a walk and come back, and that was it.
Was this before she was diagnosed, or?
This is before.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was a few occasions where that kind of situation had happened, and they were like, oh yeah, she should just go for a walk, and I was just like, that's not helping anything, because she's gonna come back and do exactly the same thing. So yeah.
In your eyes, did you see that something wasn't quite adding up with her behaviour and the way she was, or you kind of thought, I know it sounds weird, but you kind of thought, okay, I'm used to seeing her like this, so it's kind of normal to me?
In the beginning, I don't know if this like, well, how's the African culture or whatever, but we kind of saw it as, oh, she's just being wicked, or she's just mistreating us because she's angry at us for something that made sense. But over time, I started to realise that this isn't right, and because I hadn't been in, well, I have friends, but I don't really, looking at their friendship with their parents and my relationship with my parents, I realised that something's wrong, definitely wrong. And over time, I think with my own research, I started to understand what it was. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I just knew that this isn't right, this isn't normal.
Okay.
So what were your sort of, we want to kind of get into the mindset of how you were feeling at that time, sort of, do you remember sort of any strong thoughts or feelings, like how were you sort of processing all of that at the time?
To be honest, I was really angry, frustrated. I kind of think back and think that I just felt like I hated my life in general anyway, like, and I just remember being like so depressed. So with that as an additional thing, made me feel even worse. So I had thoughts of killing myself. I just wanted to I really hate talking about this, but I just wanted to not be here anymore, in the world anymore, because it's overwhelming, especially at the time when you're at university and you're trying to study as well.
Yeah.
And then it was difficult trying to manage all of it. Yeah. And I was really overwhelmed, felt really anxious as well, and I just wasn't happy. I had my own insecurities and my own things that I was struggling with, and then having family stuff as well just adds to it. And because I'm the eldest, you have that responsibility to look after your siblings and making sure everything's okay. So yeah, those are the kind of thoughts that I had, to be honest. I didn't really want to be in the world anymore. I didn't see any purpose for me being in the world if I was going to struggle this much. Yeah.
I completely kind of relate to you. I think I touched on it a little bit when we spoke before, like being the eldest sibling as well. I don't know if it's just like an African culture thing as well. When you're the eldest sibling, you are expected to follow, you know, the role as the older sibling, so you ensure that you look after your brothers and sisters. Like I said before, like when my parents were going through a really terrible divorce, I felt like I had to be the strong one. There was so much going on and I felt so overwhelmed, but then in my mind I was like, but I'm the older sibling, I need to have everything in control, I need to have everything in order. And for so long you kind of ignore your own thoughts and your own feelings. But then when you're in the space, when you get to uni now, and you're in your own room, and you're actually thinking about life and where you are, it's too much, it's really overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really like a lot of pressure. So how did you manage uni and like going into uni and having to deal with it in general?
I don't really know. A lot of it has to do with my faith. So as a Christian, I just knew that God had me 100%. I think obviously there's times where that dipped, I can't lie. And I felt that really doubtful. I was like, I don't know if I can deal with this. But having the right friends around me, definitely, they kept me going. I can't lie to you. Like, just staying with me in my room, or going on walks with me, or if I wanted to avoid thinking about it, then we'll just do things like cook together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily bring up the subject because I really hated talking about it, and I'm quite reserved as well. But just being outside of my room helped. Studying together, and things like that kept me going. To be honest, it's a bit strange. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but normally universities would give you the support that you need once you let them know that this is happening, but because it wasn't it wasn't me that was affected, because I'm indirectly affected by what happened. I didn't get support, so I left uni being angry, because although I'd finished university and graduated, and they gave me like an extension of my dissertation, that was it. I was like, okay. I still had exams the week after that I had to do, kind of thing. So I just wish that they had done more, a lot, because with suicidal thoughts, I could have been that person that committed suicide because things were so overwhelming, and it happens to lots of people where they're in that position, and the university just doesn't have the support to help them.
Yeah. So going back to your family member, how were they first diagnosed?
So I just remember it being a Sunday, and I hadn't spoken to her, and I normally speak to her, and I spoke to one of my close family members, and I was like, how is she? And then they just told me, she's been taken. The police have taken her, the ambulance came, and basically she's been sectioned.
I mean, so how did you sort of, obviously considering they were diagnosed and everything, how do you differentiate them being a patient to obviously them being your family member? Because obviously it's difficult to see someone in that light, because you've grown up with them, you've had experiences with everything, you've sort of gained a certain amount of respect for them as that family member. So how did it then change them sort of having this title of the patient and sort of being diagnosed and seeing them sort of being sectioned and everything? How did your sort of perception about them change, if it did at all?
I think for me they're always my family member. They were always going to be my close family member. I think reality hit when they became a patient, or when they're sectioned under this act. Like I think that's when reality hit, and I was like, wow, this is actually real. Like, because a lot of people going back, when I tried to explain it to people, they didn't really understand. They kind of thought, oh, maybe my siblings are troubling her, or that's why she's angry and stuff. But when it finally came to like, this is what's actually happening, I think it didn't even make me angry anymore. I couldn't be angry because I knew that she wasn't well. So I think, in terms of your question, I think I was angry at first, and then once diagnosed, that changed how I was thinking. I realised, okay, she's actually not well. She actually has an illness. So I have to be more forgiving as a result. So I guess I became more forgiving towards her. But I never saw her as a patient. I couldn't. And for me to do that, it would have been really hard, because then it would have taken away the relationship part of what we have. So
Were you ever trained for learning how to deal with the situation if she had an episode? Were you ever trained on how to manage it or deal with it?
No training.
Even after the diagnosis?
Nothing.
What?
Yeah, nothing. Like, we had social workers, that will say, okay, we need family therapy. It was mostly therapy. They kind of said that we should get or we were eligible for. Nothing. Even then, there was no further contact that we should reach out to get the support that we needed.
So you mentioned sort of family therapy. What sort of things did they try and get you to do sort of in the therapy?
So we didn't get that far.
Oh really?
No, so they just said, this is something you can do.
Right. Okay.
That's it. There was no, okay, these are the people you can speak to, or there was no number, no address, no nothing. They just said, this is what you can, family therapy is an option. That was it.
Wow.
Right, okay.
I think over the years now I've realised I actually need help.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm crazy, but like, I've suppressed a lot over time, and I realised that even now it affects my relationships and stuff. So even myself, not anyone in my family does, but I go to counselling, and I've chosen to go to counselling because I don't want those things of my past to affect my future in every aspect. So yeah, there was no support, nothing.
No training or anything like that?
Nothing.
Wow. That's really like, I'm mind blown by that. I would have thought there was going to be at least some training of how to manage an episode if it was to happen.
No, and she went into hospital twice. So the first time was in my second year, and the third time was in my final year. And in my final year, I was next of kin, so I had to decide whether or not she goes back in.
Wow.
And yeah, I decided that she should. That was, I hated that time. I decided that she should. And even then you would think, okay, I'm definitely a young carer, there must be some support available. Nothing.
So all of you were at such a crucial age as well, where you're trying to understand yourselves, where you fit in with the world, and then having to deal with these things at home and not understanding it. And that's really, I'm so shocked that there wasn't something put in place for you or to be supported.
It was, for me, I felt like when they came, it was kind of like, so how are we going to help your younger siblings? Should we take them away rather than, okay, they're in this situation, what can we do to improve the situation that they're in, rather than taking my siblings out, because that would have been even worse. That's like you're tearing the family apart. That's what I would have seen it as, but there was nothing, and it's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry, I'm still like stuck on that right now.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that there's obviously social workers out there who do a really good job and you know have the family at their best interest and things like that. Unfortunately, this situation happened. But I will say with you, it's like it's a really big step, and well done for actually accessing counselling now, because you've identified that you need support. And again, so many people will still go back into their shell, go back into being depressed, go back into these suicidal thoughts and not get that help because there's a blockage. But for the fact that you can recognise that and take that step, like, well done to you. It's really like, well done.
It is, because I mean it's important that you do address these issues, because I mean it's so easy to get lulled into the idea that you're fine because you suppress it so much. Because I can relate as well, because my mum passed away about sort of 4 years ago, and I'm the same. I just suppress, and I think it's really courageous that you're getting counselling, because sort of you don't want those emotions to just creep up on you sort of in later in life. So
and it's happened a few times where I'll just like be so angry over something so small. And it's just like, why do I need to get so angry? What is it? And it's because of you're suppressing things so much that it comes out in little chunks. And I'm always scared of if someone does something to me and I explode, I'm going to react my reaction is going to be so bad. Whereas if I just deal with it now, or the things I suppress, if I deal with those things now and nip it in the bud and know the roots and know how I'm going to move forward in life with them, then it'll be so much easier. I won't be so angry, and I'll be able to react appropriately, rather than just doing nonsense. I guess.
And I think for anybody else kind of out there who is struggling with emotions and stuff, I think accessing counselling. How did you even access the counselling? Was it through your GP
I just went online. I had a conversation with my friend like a couple of days before, and she told me about it, and I was like, I really need to do this. I've been saying I need to do it for ages, and I've never had the confidence to do so. And in fact, before they have Lambeth talking therapy, so I thought, okay, I can get counselling through them. And they were like, I can't remember what they said, but basically I ended up doing like CBT, group CBT sessions. And I was sitting there and I was like, I know all of this because of my project. I know the things they're talking about. And I didn't find it helpful because I didn't get to talk about any of my issues. And I didn't really find the root. It didn't help me find the root of any of the things that I was going through, I had gone through. So I thought it was a waste of time, to be honest. And then with counselling, like I said, I just went online, found the nearest counsellor to me that was a Christian, because I wanted a Christian one. And then she lives like literally like 2 minutes away from my house.
Oh wow, that's so handy.
And that's it. I started like a couple. It hasn't been that long.
So is it sort of 1-to-1, or is it like
so it's 1-to-1 now. Yeah, and I find it so helpful. I mean, I've only had like maybe 5 sessions now. I cry in every session. Let me not lie to you, but it's just trying to understand why things happen, and also trying to understand myself, and why, for example, why I don't believe that I can have good things in life, or I don't think I deserve certain things in life. So it's just helping me understand those things a lot more. So it doesn't have to be through a GP.
Yeah.
Like, if you need it and you believe you need it, go and find it, because it's not everyone that's going to drop it on your lap and say this is what you can have.
Yeah.
Not everyone does that. So